Good. I'll
This is
sleep
great.
after work. I almost missed our meeting.
He was deep in sleep.
Yeah. It's been a long week already.
Can they all be this easy?
Why, this month it can. This month it can be. Okay, whenever you're ready, we can.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Okay, there's our agenda.
Yep, if you want to go, oh, sorry, are you waiting for me?
Yep,
You are
go
waiting
ahead.
for me. There we go. We're doing
Okay.
this.
Thank you for your attendance and participation. The purpose of the public hearing is to gather information from the public to help the commission formulate recommendations. In order to ensure a fair and orderly meeting where everyone can participate, the commission requests that you act respectfully to everyone in attendance and follow the public hearing procedures. The chairperson will call the public hearing item. The planning department will present the staff recommendation. Commissioners may ask questions of staff. Presentation by the applicant or the representatives. Commissioners may ask questions of applicant. The chairperson will open the public hearing. The chairperson will call for public comments from the person in support of the items, followed by persons in opposition to the items. The applicant will have the chance for a rebuttal comment. The chairperson will close the public hearing. The commissioners may ask questions and have discussion, and then we'll take action. Speakers must speak from the podium and state their name and address for the record. The chairperson reserves the right to establish a time limit for all speakers to ensure that everyone can speak. The designation of a spokesperson for groups sharing a common point of view is encouraged. All comments and questions will be directed to the chair from the podium and not to the applicant, staff, or audience. When the hearing is closed, additional public comments are not permitted.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm going to go back to the agenda so it's on there.
Okay. So now we'll go to roll call and declaration of a quorum.
Tyler Timbren,
Here.
Jeanette Johnson, Terry Robinson,
Here.
Rosa Cavazos,
Here.
Ken Corbett,
Here.
Chad Gerhardt,
Here.
Josh Greening. With 5 members present, there is a quorum.
Okay. The next item is communications from the public to staff.
I did not receive any comments from anybody in regards to any of the items on the agenda today.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any ex parte communications by members of the commission? None, seeing none. Any declaration of conflict of interest by members of the commission? None. Okay, the first item, and the only item that we have tonight, is CU 24/05 Shawnee Heights Fire District requesting a conditional use permit to establish a new fire station on the property zoned RA1, Rural Agricultural District, and located in the 5400 block of Southeast 61st Street in Monmouth Township.
Okay, well, I would like to start off our meeting this evening to welcome our newest member, Terry. And so before or after you have a chance to introduce yourselves so that each of you gets to know Terry a little bit, but he joined us just prior to this meeting, and so welcome. We appreciate you and your service to the Planning Commission. So tonight, Shawnee Heights Fire District, conditional use permit, as was mentioned, and this will establish a new fire station on property. If you recall, not that long ago, the Shawnee Heights Fire District was here to vacate the plat, and this happens to be the same exact property that we were dealing with. So they now have the 2 parcels, the one that was original, and then the one that they purchased to combine for a larger parcel to build this fire district or fire station for the fire district. In accordance with Article 2 of our zoning regulations, a conditional use permit is required for a public use facility. A public use facility could be anything from any sort of governmental building, certain types of like water, electrical, fire, township buildings, we consider all of those public use facilities. And in the zoning regs that we currently have, we do require that to fall under a conditional use permit. Growth and call volume in this area is indicating that expansion is needed. They had done studies 20 years ago when they first started looking at this property and considering putting a fire station, and they had determined that this was going to be a good location to put a fire station to serve the area. They didn't do so at that time, and as you recall, when we were discussing the plat early on, that the conditional use permit that they obtained at that time, they ended up not building, they didn't move forward with it, and at this point, they've come back to us and said, we're ready to move forward. The station would operate 24 hours a day and will be the new headquarters and administrative office for the fire district. During the work week, there would be 3 people in the office at most times, and then 3 people on duty as well as firefighters 7 days a week. The character of the neighborhood is mostly agricultural. There is a significant amount of single-family residential development, as you see throughout Shawnee County. 3-acre, 5-acre, 10-acre parcels, but then at the same time, there's a lot of farming that is done surrounding. The parcel that they will occupy has been historically used as agricultural land or farm ground, and so it will change the use of the specific property, but it will be a great benefit to those surrounding the community. The notification area, this is everybody that falls within 1,000 feet. We did not get any contact back after we sent our letters to everybody within 1,000 feet. As mentioned, the property has historically remained ag use. The zoning regulations allow for this type of use on the property with conditions if necessary. In doing the review of the property and the proposal, we don't have any concerns. We did send it out to various reviewing entities, as we do with all of our conditional use permits or rezoning cases. And we got comments back from several, but none of them were of concerns. They were just comments or issues that needed to be dealt with in regards to the septic, entrance permits, ensuring that additional right-of-way gets dedicated. All of the things that are listed on the staff recommendations were items that came to us as considerations from those surrounding entities. There was one comment in regards to a copper line owned by AT&T. They just need the final site plan to be sent over to them once it's finalized so that they can identify whether or not they need to move any of the copper line or terminals that serve that area. In regards to the golden factors, I've touched on a few of those items in regards to the character of the neighborhood and also how the parcel has historically been used. Otherwise, in regards to compliance with the zoning code and subdivision regulations, they don't have to do a plat of subdivision based on the size of the parcel. They're complying with the zoning code by doing the conditional use permit. It's my belief that this proposed use would be consistent with the comprehensive plan. We're hoping to encourage continued development, and that includes the continuation of residential development in the area, and fire stations, as we all know, are greatly needed when we have additional homes in the area. In regards to the relative gain to the public health and safety, obviously it's a big gain to have additional fire safety in the area. There would be no gain to prohibiting this use on the parcel. The site plan, so this is a tentative site plan. Once the conditional use permit has been established, they will better define exactly where the building will be located and all of the drives. We've been in communication with their engineers and their developers as they've been working on this, making sure that the entrances are in the correct location and that the aprons to those entrances are the correct size. Portions of it will need to be paved to ensure the trucks coming in and off, washing them, whatever services that they may need to offer for those trucks, that it's a suitable surface. And so those are all taken into consideration. The specific site plan in regards to what they'll do will need to be provided to my office, to Public Works, to Environmental Health. Once we approve the conditional use permit, the site plan, they can send on to us for final review before they begin development. And so this is just a good example of how it's supposed to look, and what the anticipation is what it will serve on that property. And here's a little bit closer up of the actual building itself. So recommendations: prior to obtaining any building permits, they will need to submit that final site plan for review and approval. They will also need to submit their drainage report for review and approval, and then any recommendations by the Public Works Department they would need to follow, and they have been working on those items already. 61st Street in this area is a minor arterial street, and so they do need some additional right-of-way, and so that conveyance will have to happen via written instrument. They're going to be, restricted access will be put across the front of the property along 61st, but they will be granted two access breaks for their entrances onto the property and allow proper turning for the trucks. We'll be a little bit flexible with that, and Public Works will work with them in regards to the space that they need for that to make sure that it works for the trucks as they stand. The driveway, again, will need to be hard surfaced, and then there will need to be a grate to allow for proper drainage. And then that site plan will need to be reviewed by AT&T to ensure that they don't need to move their copper line. But other than that, I had no other concerns or conditions that I anticipated, and I recommend approval subject to those items.
Thank you, Joni. Any questions from the commission at this point?
We'll be hearing from,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, if the applicant would like to come up to the podium, please.
Hello, I'm Kevin Flory, Shawnee Heights Fire District, 2626 Shawnee Heights Road, Fire Chief at Shawnee Heights Fire District, and would like to thank you commission members for allowing us to come up and speak. We're looking forward to this project pending your approval. Our area of our fire district in the southeastern part of the county has been continuously growing over the last 20 years, and between the call volume and the expanding population base, we've hit the time where we need to improve our services in this portion of the township. So that's kind of what's driving this. We're also looking that this is going to be, it's a 60 or 70-year facility. So where are we going to be at in 50 years from now? And trying to forecast that and make sure we have adequate protection in place. So that is kind of the long and the short of it. We're ready to move forward. As the director spoke to, we have contractors and architects kind of working on some of this preliminary stuff to make sure we're following all the necessary restrictions or changes that may be needed. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the commission?
thank you, Chairman. I'm asking you this because I live in the Auburn area, and Dover has 2 fire units, and y'all have 2 now. Is it based on population, or how do you determine that where the city can't give you any backup? Is that kind of where you're at?
Yeah, for us, this will be 4 stations for
Right.
us. But what it boils down to is the road miles, like within 5 road miles, is kind of the standard for insurance industry for insuring homes. And then secondarily to that, which in my mind is really primary, is a 4-minute response time on medical calls, especially when it comes to a person who's not breathing. You basically have 6 minutes. And if you can't get there in that 6 minutes, that's it. So we kind of try and use those circles of coverage. And then this station specifically overlaps a couple of the other areas, because one thing we're starting to run into is with the higher call volumes, we're getting multiple calls where all of our stations are out at once. So we need to get another station to kind of backfill that area.
Chairman,
Okay.
I got one
Yep.
more. So when this is settled, is it will this taxing authority be more than Mammoth Township? Will it be a multiple township? Who all's paying for the,
Yeah, so,
on their property tax? Who all gets to participate on this?
so Shawnee Heights Fire District, actually, that's when this property was first bought, was when the fire district merged. It used to be Topeka-Tecumseh Fire District,
Yeah.
and then Monmouth Township joined by a vote of the public on that, and it became Shawnee Heights Fire District. So yes, those three townships, Topeka, Tecumseh, Monmouth, and then they have a partial contract with Williamsport for a portion of their area.
And just because I know there's another plan of a fire department in Topeka, what's the average price for just something that, I mean, this is needed, but
Yeah.
do you have any idea?
Yeah, it's, square footage on something like this, I mean, they say figure basically 300 to 400 a square foot. For our style, which we're looking at probably more like a pre-engineered metal building style. Brick and mortar, upwards of 600 a square foot. So we're talking probably 10,000 square feet per building.
And it'll last you that long, too.
Yes,
It'll be a
yep.
long time.
Yep, that's the hope, is we're eagerly anticipating growth in that part of the county. We're really seeing it. We've been seeing at least 30-plus housing permits each year for the last several years in that area, so we know we're growing.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, applicant.
Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing, and anyone who would like to speak in favor of this project is welcome to come up to the mic.
Good evening, Mitchell Cook is my name. I live at 5607 Southeast 61st. I'm within the 1,000-foot area there.
Okay.
And I am here to testify on the behalf of the fire department as a former employee, former chief. I have met with the chiefs, and we have extensively gone over the plan. This has been in the planning for a long time, many, many years. It's part of the evolution of the fire district, and it's right on time. They're following a plan that's been set up for a long time, and I've gone over logistics with them on how do you run, when do you run, so forth and so on, and they are spot on. And so I am here in favor of the fire department. Response time is crucial to save lives. This fire station will save hundreds of lives. All the time that I was on the fire department, the remarks we get when we get there are, "What took you so long?" That you hear that all the time. Thousands of calls, no matter what it was, whether it was a medical, fire, anything, is what took you so long, you know? And it's when you've got any situation where a medical situation is involved, 5 minutes is a hell of a long time. And I know most of us have never experienced that. Once you experience that, you'll never forget it, not your whole life. Any questions?
Questions from the commission? No? Nope.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm guessing we don't have any folks here speaking opposed to the project. I'll close the public comment period, and any discussion from the commission. Any thoughts?
Johnny, do you know when it's supposed to be completed?
Once I think that they have a little bit of time yet in terms of the design, and then even once the design is kind of complete, then they have to apply with my office, and that can take a few weeks, a month, while we get everybody reviewed and signed off. And so I anticipate probably not for the next year or two. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, come on up.
So Kevin Flory again, Shawnee Heights Fire District. So kind of the plan right now is we'd like to get to the point of having 60% prints done by the end of this year, because they're telling us it's taking 3 to 4 months from the time they say go to order steel to get it on site. So we would be looking probably the earliest next spring, more likely next summer would be a start date. Dirt may get turned, I suppose they could build a pad and things like that, but as far as construction, it's gonna be minimum 20 weeks past when we get the approval to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no questions and no discussion, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda item.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'd second.
Thank you.
Jeanette Johnson, Josh Greening, Tyler Temperink,
Yes.
Ken Corbett,
Yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Yes.
Chad Gerhart,
Yes.
Terry Robinson.
Yes.
With a unanimous vote of approval, the item is
Recommended for approval. Yep.
recommended for approval and will be heard by the Board of County Commission on Thursday, September 12th.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is any public comment on non-agenda planning and zoning items.
We don't
No
have
public
anybody, nobody from the public comment.
Okay. Discussion of planning-related issues, Joni.
I'm gonna note for the record, just because it's on the agenda and because we've sent out information, area-wide, but for conditional use permit 2404, Turu Biartes, the rodeo event center. That one, if you recall, you guys continued until tonight's hearing, and that applicant reached out and did ask that we continue that until another date. He had asked to be moved to the September meeting, and so long as we get his information from him in the next week, we do anticipate that that will move forward in September. If we do not get that, I will let you know as soon as possible so that you know that you don't need to be here in September, because I don't believe that we had anything else get filed for September. So that would be the only item in September. And then I also wanted to notate that the Robert Palmer case that you guys heard that same night for the subdivision of the duplexes did go in front of the Board of County Commissioners, and they referred it back to you here at the Planning Commission. What had happened was, after the hearing in front of you that night, Mr. Palmer made some extensive changes to his proposal. He is revamping the size and the shape of it. He is potentially taking some of the duplexes off the plan. He is no longer going to be doing a lagoon. He's going to attempt to move forward utilizing septic, and so he's been working with environmental health and all of the people that he needs to on that. And so he's also, the Board of County Commissioners also directed that he needed to get a traffic study. And so he is accomplishing all of those items, and I anticipate that we will be back here in October to rehear and reconsider that project. So then the next item on here for planning-related issues is our departmental budget. And if you, well, probably only a couple of you were here last year when we did this. According to state statute and according to our resolution for the planning department and planning commission, you as the planning commissioners are responsible for considering and then making a move on our budget. This budget has already been presented to the Board of County Commissioners. They will start considering budget on Thursday. So we had hearings, they ask questions, and then they start making actual decisions on Thursday at their BCC meeting. And so what I wanted to talk to you about tonight was the fact that my budget, I did decrease it a little bit, and the only, that all comes from personal services. We have very little when it comes to contractual services and supplies. It's very minimal. So a majority of our budget comes from just personnel, from the employees. Last year, we did ask to have an additional staff member added to the staff, and that was approved. And we have been working on getting fully staffed. And so in terms of our planning moving forward, that's one of the top priorities and goals within my strategic plan, is to get staffing brought up to speed. You see on the left there is the organizational chart. You have myself as the director, and then we have our planning specialist who helps everybody that comes to the window or calls. Our planning and development coordinator is Jolie, who's sitting here tonight. She does all of our building permits and then helps with all of the planning cases that we have going on here in front of you. The planner position, which is vacant, is the one that I asked for last year, kind of anticipation of what happens if the 3-mile radius gets modified at the legislature. That, to my understanding, is still a potential topic again this coming year. And so that I'm hoping to keep on our staff chart. However, I will say that I recreated our planning and zoning administrator position, which is vacant right now. We're interviewing applicants. Chadwick, who had been with us as the zoning and floodplain manager, is gone now, and so we're having to refill that position. And after he was here and we saw how the position itself worked, I decided that it just wasn't quite right. And so I redid that position once again, and I actually integrated the planner job with that position. And so the planner job will probably change and be recreated into some other sort of position. And then we had the availability of an intern. Based on the intern position and some overtime that I had asked for last year, I cut some of that out because it's just not necessary at this stage of our department. And so that's where we see the savings on our proposed budget. And if they wanted me to make more cuts, then I would have to go back and look at how we might do that within the department with the open intern position or potentially that planner position.
Just maybe, since a lot of us aren't here from the last time, how hard would it be for you to kind of do a snapshot, like a 5-year look for, permits, applications, growth, what you kind of, so we kind of
Yes.
get an idea of where this county's going?
Did we include with Jolie, did we include the budget documents? Yes. So on the last couple of pages, what you'll see of yep, I've got them here. What you'll see is what was presented to the commission in regards to planning and development. What I will tell you is that permitting itself hasn't really changed a whole lot. We're pretty much on target for the number of permits that we've issued over the last couple of years. One might think that with, the economy, with interest rates, with inflation and such, that people are not building any longer, and that's just not true. We still see a high number of swimming pools. We see a high number of accessory buildings and still a lot of single-family homes. What we have found, and I think case in point with the Shawnee Heights Fire District, we're seeing a lot of people in the unincorporated area taking their land and dividing it up and selling it off, and people coming in and buying 3, 5, 10 acres and building a new house. And so we're seeing that continue at the same rate. But what I would say is probably more likely that is happening is they're not spending as much money on the actual house. So they may not be spending $500,000 or $600,000. That may be more like a $300,000 home. And so then that affects my department because we base our fees off of a percentage of the cost of the build. We've considered looking at our fee schedule, or we've started looking at our fee schedule to see if maybe assessing building permit fees in a different manner where we do it based on square footage or just, a flat fee, those types of things to try and increase our fees just a little bit to help cover the cost of my department. Our total income for the department, we probably have revenue of about $200,000 a year, and it costs $450 to $500 to run the department. And so we, being able to increase our fees at some level is good, but we also don't want to increase them so much that we then put another burden on the taxpayers just in a different manner.
I've got a question for new business when you get to it, Chairman.
Okay, so that's the budget. Obviously, the Board of County Commissioners has to approve the budget, and they're the ones that will come in and make cuts, but we do ask you to consider it and then make a motion and a vote to approve or deny the budget.
Do you have anything in your budget to really, everybody that comes here for something,
Yep.
the biggest grump is, I can't hear you, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know what that would, who does that kind of stuff, but it would, for the people out there who kind of want to hear what we're doing, it would be good for them. I don't know what,
We've got it happening right now. So IT department is here. The microphones are all now amplified. Based on how many people are here, they can turn it up and make it better to hear. We also are continuing to work with our maintenance staff to ensure that it's cool enough in here. Yep, and that we can turn down the air while we've got a lot of people in here. So this is all live streamed. We're now amplified. If you see, they've now installed cameras directly here, and so they, on a regular basis, IT may not even come, and we'll just run it ourselves once they teach us how to do all of that. But we have, they've used money from their own department. There you go, Mark.
I also want to let you know, we have run a cable to the lobby, so when you have a bigger, more controversial situation, we can do a live stream right to the lobby and not have some issues. There were some issues I wasn't happy with last time when we had the big one, I think, or no, the rodeo issue. Mark Price, Shawnee County Information Technology, by the way.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, so we did address that, and we had been working on it, but as everything within a municipal organization, it does take a little bit of time, and they just within the last couple of weeks got this all up and running. So
good job, Mark.
It was my staff.
Good job, staff.
Yeah, good job, staff.
yeah, other than that,
That's all you have?
Yep.
Okay, that takes us to the last item, adjourn.
yes, please do make a motion.
Oh, do you
Yep,
wanna do that
Yep,
too?
I make
please.
a motion to approve the budget as presented.
Second.
Tyler Timbrink,
Yes.
Jeanette Johnson, Ken Corbett,
Yes.
Chad Gerhardt,
Yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Yes.
Josh Greening, Terry Robinson.
Yes.
With a unanimous vote in favor, the planning commission approves the 2025 planning department budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Nope,
I think
got a
Yeah.
question.
he had an
I've
item
got
that
a
you.
question
Yep.
too, so.
Certainly.
So, Joni, as you mentioned earlier about a special use permit,
Mm-hmm.
so when I see that the county's buying 1934 Candace Avenue, the Florence construction, da-da-da-da-da, do you know what the purpose of that was, and are they gonna need a special use permit, or where are you headed with that?
I'm not involved in those discussions, but based on the information that I saw when I was at the meeting where this was taking place, they are planning to utilize that for Parks and Rec. They would operate a majority of their offices, or a good chunk of their offices, out of that building, because they bought not only the Bob Florence building, but also some of the stuff behind it, and so they'll be able to operate maintenance and repair stuff out of those, and eliminate some of the uses within the county that are in other buildings that need to be vacated and used for other things or torn down. And so they'll, and it's very central, right off of one of their paths, very central to all of their various park locations and pools and
It
such.
just seemed like about $1 million was a big bite, it seemed like, for Parks and Rec. I mean, everybody likes Parks and Rec, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken. Other questions?
Yeah, I was just curious on the solar. the
Yes.
Industrial solar, so we're a month or two into the moratorium now.
Correct.
When does that come back up?
We will start working on that, kind of waiting for the dust to settle and allow us to get through a couple of these other major projects that have come up and we've had pending in front of us. And then I will start working on drafting stuff to bring it back, probably sometime after the first of the year is what I would anticipate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that 3-mile thing will be a big deal if it passes, according for solar? So who's gonna be able to run it, the city or the county?
Say that again?
You know, if that 3-mile area would
If it gets eliminated?
eliminate it,
Mm-hmm.
and that area becomes the county's to deal with.
So the
Are you
thing with
okay-
the
are you okay
3
with
mile,
that?
well,
How does that get eliminated? Is that completely statutorily at the state level?
so there's multiple ways that it can happen, but yes, it's a statute. And the legislature, Senate and House of Representatives are considering whether or not it should be eliminated. if they do vote to pass to eliminate it, it would take it away completely, the way that it's been proposed right now. I mean, there's always ways that they could negotiate that and change
So if it's at
it.
a state level, or we're not the only jurisdiction?
Oh,
over
no,
the-
no,
okay,
no,
that's-
nope, it's
okay.
all across the state, various counties and cities.
But the county and the city in Shawnee County could reach an agreement themselves.
They could reach an agreement themselves. So the other way that it could be handled is that if the state doesn't end up changing the law, then the county and the city can talk and meet and discuss and try and come to an agreement and enter into an interlocal agreement between us. If the city is willing to participate in that, yeah. So in regards to the solar, they don't deal with any of the solar within that 3 mile. The only thing that the city takes over in our 3 mile jurisdiction, while it does allow some counties or cities to do not only platting, subdividing, but also zoning issues, within Shawnee County, the only thing that they handle is the platting and dividing of parcels. So we still handle all of the building permits and we still handle all of the zoning. And so ours is a little bit different, and that's all, I believe that's all set out by the choice of the city. That's what they've elected to take over, because they really are more concerned with how people are dividing their property within that 3 mile. And so that's all they deal with.
But, and just for you, for information, the biggest grump is the people that they are asking for their zoning of their property cannot vote for anybody that's overlording
Sure,
them
that's
on
right.
that
Yeah.
situation.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Certainly.
When we're looking at increasing fees for building
Mm-hmm.
permits, are you aware of any requirements that would also make us have more services that go with those increase in fees?
Not necessarily. If pretty much statewide, there is a reassessment on fees. Our fees have been in place the way that they are since early 2000s, even before we even had our separate city county planning departments. Our fees are old, from like 2003. And so, if not earlier than that. And so the concept being that it's been 20 years since we've looked at the cost of that. And, if we have to take into consideration what it costs now to run an office and what it costs to produce those permits, the number of staff that we have to look at them, any of the various things that we go through, we haven't looked at those fees for 20 years. And so I think that it's worth looking at to see. I know that a lot of the surrounding counties are having to reconsider those as well. And not everybody does it the same. I know there's one of the counties I looked at, a building permit for a single family residence is $4,000. And that's a flat fee, no matter how big of a house you're building. Ours, you may spend $500 or $750 or $125. It just depends on the cost. And we don't require anybody to provide us the documentation of what that cost is. So they could tell us anything, and that's what we base it off of.
Douglas is the same way.
Yeah, and some do it based on square footage, like, if you build based on this many square feet, then the fee is this amount. I just feel like there's a better way that we can do it to more accurately reflect the work that we put into those permits, but also the value of a house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Later,
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. We are adjourned.
Okay.
Good job, Chairman.
Thank you.